welcome back to the channel, What Age Gap TV. It is me, Manessa. Clearly, I have not taken my own advice, as I stated that I would be stepping away from the camera once I had the baby, but here I am once again. But I wanted to do a nice little or quick little follow-up video. We are about 2 weeks and some days postpartum since I've had him, and I kind of wanted to, let you all know how we're doing and what my experience was with the pregnancy or with the actual delivery process. I did have him June 30th, 2019. He was born at 10:29 p.m., weighing 6 pounds, 13 ounces, and was 20 inches long. His name is Zion Astaire Nugene Pendleton. He is named after, I'll say both of our fathers, both of me and Sean. They've been keeping the Astaire going as far as the middle name since his grandfather, and Nugene is my dad's name, and because he doesn't have any sons, I just thought it would be kind of nice to have his legacy continue on through his first grandchild of mine. So that's his name. If you all didn't see in the last video of the, of us welcoming Zion into the world, I did have to have an emergency C-section in order to give birth to him. We had originally been planning to have a vaginal birth, but we did have a few issues that took place that, in order to ensure that both me and the baby were healthy, we did have to have a C-section. So I will take you back to that day. June 30th, I was having contractions early that morning. Nothing really serious. It just felt like I was having cramps in my stomach that went on throughout the entire day. I knew I wasn't too serious because me calculating the contractions or when they were happening, it was like a large space in between them. Like they would be like every 15 to 17 minutes. So I knew it wasn't, time to go to the hospital just yet. But once they did start getting a little bit more consistent and the pain level kind of upped itself, once we got to like the every 3 to 5 minute point, and once the contractions started intensifying themselves, then we were like, okay, well, let's just go to the hospital. The hospital was 7 minutes away from the house. So let's just go there, and just let them check me out to see if I am actually in labor or, if I need to wait some more time before I actually become admitted to the hospital. So we went there to the hospital. They kept me in the triage for quite some time, just checking my vitals. They did let me know that he was pretty much in the position ready, but at the time I think I was only about 4 centimeters, so they wanted me to start walking before they admitted me. I walked for about an hour, and in that hour the contractions were like the most pain I had ever felt. It wasn't like enough to make me cry, but I just wanted to sit down. It felt like me standing up was making them feel worse. Like I felt like if I was maybe, laying down, that they wouldn't be so bad, but trying to walk around, I mean, it really wasn't too much walking because it felt like the contractions were coming back to back. So it was like I would take 2 steps and then that would be a contraction. So I would be sitting still for that contraction, and then after it would be over with, I'll probably take another 2 steps and then there would be another one. So it was really more standing around for an hour than it was actually walking, but I did it for the hour like they told me. When I made it back in, I still had only dilated maybe another 1 centimeter, but because of the position that the baby was in, they were saying like, okay, we'll just go ahead and admit you, but not that, it would be go time right then and there to go into, that I was in labor, this and that. So they admitted me. They did need to break my water bag. I keep saying water bag, but I don't know if it's water bag or just break my water. But at any rate, my water didn't break on its own, so they had to do that as well. So they brought me in. They gave me my epidural, started the IV. Was constantly checking my blood pressure, and then they broke my water. When they broke my water, they did say that they saw that he had his first bowel movement. So that was one of the things. So they were like, just making sure that they were keeping an eye on him as well. Also with me, making sure that, everything was fine with me. We probably got admitted in maybe like around 7-ish, 7:30-ish. So they were saying like it'll probably be midnight or close to midnight, that I will actually probably be going into active labor as far as pushing or whatnot. But they gave me the medication or the medicine to kind of help you get to dilating. And I was on it for maybe, I'll say like 10-15 minutes. And the nurse, they gave me the medicine. They gave me like, I want to say like a yoga ball, but it wasn't a yoga ball. It was like in the shape of a peanut. But they were just saying that they would be moving me around to try and get me to get more dilated, getting my pelvis ready, because as I state, we were planning for a vaginal birth. And we, were all set with that. They were saying that, it was time for me to, I couldn't sleep a little bit because we had been up like that. Well, I had been up since like 5:30 that morning. So they were telling me like, I can sleep a little bit. So me and Sean were kind of cooling down, getting to the point where we can kind of get some rest, because we were anticipating later on in that night we'll be going through labor. So they got us situated. They left out, turned the lights off because, or dimmed the lights basically. And like I say, maybe 10-15 minutes afterwards, the nurse came in and she called for additional help. So I was just thinking maybe, it was time for them to start, positioning me in different ways in order to get me to dilating, I guess. But I kept hearing one of the nurses say like, okay, it's constantly dropping, we need to do something. So I'm like, oh, okay, what is going on? Because they came in, they didn't really seem like it was an emergency per se, as far as like panicky. It just was a lot of people in there doing a lot of things like, moving me, shifting me, different things of that nature. So I asked the nurse like, what's going on? And she's like, well, you're having contractions back to back. And with you having them back to back, the baby is upset. That's kind of what she said. She was like, he's not really feeling it. And his heart rate is dropping for about 5 to 7 minutes. And then it's going back up to what a normal heart rate would be. But it was just constantly doing that with the contractions being back to back, his heart rate would drop and then level itself back out, but then drop again. So they stopped that medicine as far as that would get me to dilate, because that was the medicine that was, causing the most ruckus. So they contacted my OB. He told them, of course, to take me off the medicine and just to monitor me. And he let me know that I may have to, if it keeps happening or if it happened again, where his heart rate would be dropping and whatnot, that I may have to have a C-section. So, I said okay to that. And then they just started prepping the room. They were just saying like, well, let's just prep the operating room in the event that we have to go. So they got me and the baby was back stable. And then they all left out, and it was maybe like, I'll say a good 10 minutes, if that. It really felt like 2 seconds, like they left out, and then they were all coming back in again, and they were just telling us like, okay, well, we're going to the operating room now. So they came back in. I heard them. I saw them like, give Sean the gear that he would need to put on over his clothes. Like, okay, Dad, we need you to put this on, cover everything, put this over your clothes. And the nurse was looking at me and she was like, well, do you know what's going on? I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm going in for a C-section. She was like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, this is what we have to do in order to ensure that me and the baby are both healthy. So this is what, we have to do. In the moment and even afterwards, it was never a fear or never a feeling of like me being scared or worried or anything. What's funny is talking to my mom, she was always saying like, oh, you just gonna have a C-section. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm gonna push this baby out. Da, 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 da. She's like, girl, I done had a C-section with you and all three of your sisters. You gonna have a C-section and that's just gonna be that, blah, 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 blah. And she was right. But I never got a chance to feel anxious or anything because I knew that he was already doing that on his own. Like his heart rate was already going up and down and fluctuating. So I know if I started to stress myself with him still being inside of me, that it would make it worse for him. And my priority was making sure that I was going to have me a healthy baby. So I think that's like what kind of took over. So I was just calm throughout the entire thing. Then moving me from my labor and delivery room to move me into the operating room. Once we got in there, I got in on the table. They put the little guard up, strap your hands down. I just was cold, but I'm always cold. And it was a while, with them prepping me before Sean came in. So I'll say it was like maybe 15. It felt like 15 minutes of prepping, but it could have been 10. Everything felt like 10 to 15 minutes. I'll just say that. But they were prepping me. I knew that they were rubbing. I felt like them rubbing on my stomach, but that was really it. Like not the full sensation, but like I felt numb, but also kind of felt that they were doing something to my stomach. So Sean comes in, and I know he was kind of freaked out by it because we were going from everything is fine. The entire pregnancy had been fine. We hadn't had any issues, myself or the baby, throughout the entire time. And it just kind of went from everything is fine to, okay, we have to deliver this baby. We have to get this baby out now via surgery in order to ensure that the baby is healthy. So Sean does his absolute best to not look or not seem worried, but I knew he was in a sense. So once he made it to the table, I'm like, well, here we are. This is what we have to do. And my doctor was there. He's like, well, this isn't what we planned, but, we're going to be sure that the both of you are healthy. So I'm like, okay, cool. And then they started the surgery. The only thing I could feel, it just felt like somebody was pulling my stomach. So like I could feel myself, moving, but outside of that, I didn't feel anything. And then it felt like they pulled something out. I felt that, and like right after I felt that pull of something out, I hear him crying, and he definitely cried. I think his first cry was like to let me and Sean know, like, hey, I'm here. And then afterwards, I think he was cussing everybody out because the cry went to a different pitch and it sounded more like he was hollering at everybody. But they took him, they cleaned him up. They did let me see him briefly because they wanted to take him to the NICU just to be sure that with him having that first bowel movement that he didn't digest any of it. So I got to see him like briefly, and then they whisked him away. Him and Sean, they both went to the NICU, and they were just, as I say, making sure that he was all good. They finished up with me. They told me everything went great, good. So I was like, okay, at that time I was high as a kite from the medicine. They took me back to my room, and they were coming in, checking me every 15 minutes to check my incision to make sure like it wasn't bleeding. And I was actually going to sleep. Every time they would leave the room, it felt like I would go into a deep sleep. But it was about maybe 2 hours, and then that's when Sean came in, and I didn't know if he would be coming in with the baby. I didn't know if, you know, how the baby was doing at that time, because like I say, I was pretty much out of it. But Sean came in, and they were wheeling the baby behind him. And that's when I was able to get my skin-to-skin contact with them, and I was able to call my mom, let her know how I was doing, and I talked to a few of my sisters, you know, just to let them know, like, hey, I'm good, everything went fine, I'm healthy. He was healthy. He hadn't digested anything. They said everything was A-okay, A1 with him. So that's why he was able to, you know, come in the room back with me. And then after that, they took us to our postpartum room, and we were there at the hospital for about 2 days. They said that you're supposed to... Someone's hungry. Okay. When you have a C-section, they want you there for 72 hours, but we got our clearance. My doctor came and he checked my incision and checked me out, and he was saying that, you know, if I wanted to go home, I could, because it wasn't a need for me to still be there. As far as like my body wasn't doing anything that it would still require for me to have to stay in the hospital. And Zion's doctor did the same. His pediatrician came and checked him out, and she said, you know, he was perfectly fine to go home as well. I did decide to breastfeed. So the first 2 days, or like that night and the following day, it was kind of difficult to get him to latch on. So he would be fussy and he would sleep majority of the day. If he did latch on, he would latch on for maybe like 15 minutes, and then that would be it. So I had the lactation specialist. She came and she tried helping me with different positions to try to get him to latch on, and they would work for some time and then it wouldn't. But we did have a nurse who, it's funny, she was from Chicago. But before we found that out, she was like, you know how you just click with somebody and they act like they your auntie or something like that. She was like that. And she's like, oh, we gonna get this baby to latch on. He is gonna latch on, and you ain't gonna have no problems with him, because when you're hungry, you gonna eat. She's like, so he gonna figure out a way to eat. Sean was worried because they were saying like maybe his blood sugar can be low because he's not eating. And Sean was just like, well, just give him a bottle. I'm like, no, baby. I'm like, we can do this. So it did take, like I say, that night that I had him, and then the following day, it wasn't really, like, he wasn't really eating like that. But after that, we got him latched on, and he's been latched on ever since. How are we doing now? My incision scar, it has healed. So I'm not really experiencing that abdominal pain, like that sharp pain. Now I'm just waiting, or not waiting, but you know, everything on the inside of me. Everything on the inside, we're just waiting for that to heal. I had my checkup, you know, as I said, that the incision itself is healed up, and from the looks of it, everything is healing up nicely. So I'll still be on, like, you know, not really doing too much for the next 4 weeks. I know everyone says, like, you know, with breastfeeding, you'll drop your weight kind of quickly. So, I mean, right now I still just got it's a little belly right there, but I am absolutely fine with that. I know I can't get to working on that until, you know, I have my clearance to be able to actually move my midsection like that. So for now, just keeping my compression undergarment on, so that way at least it's bringing everything back in so it can go back to its original place. I think that's pretty much it. I think I hit all of the questions. Like, have I had any postpartum depression or anything like that? No. Have I been feeling overwhelmed at any point? No. But that's it for now. Thank you all again for watching the video. If you have not already, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. And if you're not, follow us on Instagram and check out our Facebook page. Like our Facebook page. You can find all of that by searching What Age Gap TV. Thank you again, everybody. Talk to you later. I'm out.